Welcome to Dulcimoon Talks.
Where music, connection, and inspiration meet.
I'm DJ Hamouris.
And I'm Erin Mae Lewis.
Together, we're your hosts for these beautiful conversations that celebrate the vibrant women of the Dulcimer community.
Since June of 2022, Dulcimoon Talks have brought you into the lives and stories of extraordinary women, leaders, teachers, producers, and artists who are shaping and sharing the art of the dulcimer in unique ways.
Our guests come from all walks of life. Many balance their passion for dulcimers with careers far outside the music world, yet they all share one thing: a deep love for the dulcimer and the joy it brings to teaching, practicing, performing, and creating.
Each episode is an intimate journey exploring personal musical paths, sources of inspiration, and the beautiful ways dulcimers weave into our lives. Think of it as the kind of meaningful conversation you'd have while sharing a meal at a festival. A mix of insight, laughter, and heartfelt connection.
Whether you're a long-time dulcimer enthusiast or just curious about this amazing world, Dulcimoon Talks are here to inspire, inform, and delight.
We release new talks twice monthly and are thrilled to have you on this journey with us. Make sure to subscribe and join the growing community as we honor the magic of dulcimers and the people who make them sing.
Dulcimoon Talks, sharing stories,
Celebrating connections,
keeping the music alive. Dulcimoon Talks, sharing stories,
celebrating connections,
keeping the music alive. Hello, welcome to our Dulcimoon Talk today. Sharing stories, celebrating connections, keeping the music alive. Hello, welcome to our Dulcimoon Talk.
Do you have the YouTube channel open, DJ?
Welcome to our... A little technical difficulties this morning.
That seems good. Okay, go for it.
And welcome. It's nice to start with a laugh, right?
Technology is our friend. Technology is our friend.
That's right. Hey, I'm DJ Hamouris, and I have Lee Cagle from Tennessee today. I'm really excited to reconnect with you this morning, at least this morning for me, from the Dulcimer Jamboree when we met about a month ago, right?
Oh, yeah, it was such a great weekend, and congratulations again on your big wins, ensemble and individual. Awesome. Very proud of you.
Quite the trip, and I'm still writing about that whole thing. It was really sweet to meet you back there, both in the jams and then backstage. So Lee was one of the team backstage helping all of us contestants, calm down and offering hugs for however we felt about it. It was really, really the sweetest experience. Thanks so much for being part of that.
Oh, it was great. I loved being there.
It was wonderful. So Lee, tell us where you're from. I want you to say it.
Okay. I'm originally from Blount County, Tennessee, in East Tennessee, near the mountains. And I currently live in West Tennessee, Fayette County, Moscow, Tennessee, about halfway between Memphis and Jackson.
Okay. All right. Is that the famous Jackson of the song?
I think there's a debate about that, but maybe Tennessee, maybe Mississippi.
Okay.
Wherever it is, it's hotter than a fever.
That's right. That's right. That song runs through my head every time I hear Jackson.
Yeah.
So Lee, you've been a musician most of your life, right?
Actually, no.
No. Okay. Well, let's go back to the beginning then.
So we'll go all the way back to the beginning. I grew up in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, and one of my first musical influences then was my Uncle Bob. He had a great bass voice, and he sang old ballads. And he doted on me all the time. It was like I was an only child for him. And we would hike in the mountains, and he would sing these old songs, a lot of Jimmy Rogers, Carter Family. I grew up with bluegrass, all those things, but I didn't play any music. But there was a lot. The Acuffs lived in Alcoa near us. Carl and Pearl Butler were friends of the family. If you don't know them, you can look them up. But like I said, I didn't do any music myself. So I moved to Memphis in 1987 for a job. And I had little hobbies I did, crafting and sewing and all those things. But I didn't know a lot of people. And I was kind of looking for something to do so that I didn't end up working 24 hours a day. So there's a festival here, the Pink Palace Crafts Festival. And it is a huge juried art festival. And I went to that festival. And I've been many, many times over the years. That was the only year that they had mountain dulcimers that I've ever seen there. And so I had a friend in college, Carol Topping, that played dulcimer, but I never thought about playing. I would just sit in the dorm and watch her play. But I saw these dulcimers, and they were from the Wilsons. People may remember the Wilsons from Michigan. They had come down to do this festival, and so I bought a dulcimer and had no idea what to do with it. So I noodled around with it a little bit and didn't get very far. And I was living in an apartment building, and I went out to mail a letter one day. I lived right across from the community center. So I went out to mail this letter, and there was a bluegrass band playing in the community center. So I just stood there in front of the mailboxes listening for a minute, and all of a sudden the door pops open, and this woman sticks her head out, and she says, "Hey, come on in and listen." And I was like, okay. So I went in and that was Janet Southards. I met Janet Southards and Wayne Southards. Wayne Southards was a member of the Country Gentlemen, and he's still a very well-known artist in Nashville. I met all of them and started hanging out with them every week when they practiced. So Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver were coming to town, and I went to all the bluegrass concerts that came through town. There was a place called Harvester Lane, and that's what they did, was bluegrass. So after the concert, everybody was going back to Wayne and Janet's house for a barbecue. So we were all just hanging out there, and Janet said, "Come in here, I want to show you something." So we go into the dining room, and she's got a hammer dulcimer. And she said, "I bought this for Wayne for his birthday, and he has told me he is never going to play this." So this is a Sunday afternoon, and she said, "Next Saturday, there's going to be a festival in Memphis, and they're going to teach how to play these things. So you need to get your dulcimer and come with me to this festival." That festival was the first ever Memphis Dulcimer Festival.
My goodness.
And it was organized by Larkin Bryant.
Oh my goodness.
And this was, Erin is not going to believe this, but there was a time when there was no internet and no cell phones.
Right.
And you had to pay per minute for a phone call while you were attached to a wall, right? So in 2 weeks' time, Larkin organized this festival. She started calling everybody she knew. She put an ad in the Memphis Commercial Appeal, and the festival was at Idlewild Presbyterian Church, and it was huge.
Wow.
People came from all over the country. Hundreds of people descended on this little church in Memphis for this festival. Dennis Moran was there. Trying to think who all was there. I know Dana Hamilton and Jim Hudson were there. So all these people were there. They had vendors. Ron Ewing was there. I met so many people. I went from knowing 5 people to knowing 1,000 in one day. It was unbelievable. I had never seen anything like this ever. And so, so I took my first class with Larkin. Larkin ended up being one of my closest friends in the whole world. And I currently play with her sister, Mary. Her mother also was an autoharp player. It was just a musical family. They were all just super talented. So at this festival, knowing hardly anybody, and when I say I took a class, it was like I took a class. It's not like I could play. I was just took a class. So I'm standing in the women's bathroom during the lunch break, and there's like 50 women. This bathroom is probably 5 by 5. There's 50 women in there. And they're all going, we should be getting together once this festival's over. We should do some stuff together. Let's just start a club. I'm like, okay, let's start a club. What's that? So the next week, we went to somebody's house. I can't even now tell you whose house it was. We go to this house, and there was someone there. I'm sitting on the couch next to a woman that I didn't meet at the festival, but we're sitting there. And whoever was leading this congregation said, what we're going to do is we're going to meet once a month, and everybody is going to take turns, and we'll bring 2 pieces of tab every month. And so we're going to need volunteers. We'll start next week. This was just an organizational meeting. We'll start next week. We're going to need two people to volunteer to bring 2 songs next week. Who wants to do that? And this woman that I've never seen goes, we'll do that. And I thought, are you nuts? You have no idea what you are saying. You've never even seen me before, and you think I'm going to help you put together 2 pieces of music after having a lesson, right? So I'm like, no. That woman was Karen Weiss, and she was a banjo player. And she taught me more about music and the mountain dulcimer than almost anybody. We played together for years, and this whole group played together for years. And it wasn't just dulcimers. There were plenty of guitars, banjos, mandolins. Whoever wanted to come could come. Whatever you wanted to play, you could play. We had people that only sang. They would come and sing. And we would be at these meetings, and people would say things like, oh, this is my favorite song. I want y'all to play this at my funeral. And we'd all go, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we had all these little songs. Oh, I love this. Everybody's got to play this at my funeral. And let me tell you, these were not funeral songs. They were like body drinking songs and things like that. So as time went on, everybody started getting older. One of the main leaders moved out to California to live with her daughter, that kind of thing. And we began to realize that the group wasn't going to be there to play at anybody's funeral. So Caroline came back from California one weekend. We all got together, huddled together with a little Zoom recorder, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, a little Zoom recorder, and we recorded a funeral songs CD so that we could just plug that in. So we've got all these great songs, but I'm telling you, people's eyes are going to roll back in their head when they hear some of these songs that are on my funeral song, by the way, was Rosin the Bow. I really loved Rosin the Bow. So we did all this. So it's been an amazing journey this whole time. And the people that I met at that first festival, I'm still friends with today. And then there was the second in a row, and the third time's a charm, and on and on and on. For 13 years, this festival went on. So Larkin finally got tired of running a festival, as happens. So it went dark for about 5 years. And after about 2 or 3 years, Carla Maxwell and I started having some just one-day workshops. Larry Conger lived in Paris, Tennessee at that time. He wasn't very far away. He would come in January, and we would have an all-day, one-day workshops and a concert at night. And Larry would teach intermediate, I would teach beginner. And we had a lot of response from that. And so a couple of years after that, we revived the festival. And so we had the Memphis Dulcimer Gathering for about 10 years. And that, again, was a great time. And that was modeled after my favorite festival that Larkin had done. And Larkin came every year. I just always said, we cannot have a festival if Larkin's not there. So she came every year, and that was also wonderful. So, and I've had just a great experience. I've taught at the Ozark Folk Center, the North Georgia Festival. I've been to a lot of places, taught a lot of people, had a great time. And one of the things that I have found from the people that I've taught in classes and met over the years is that almost all of them have a story about how they came to the dulcimer.
Yep.
It's even Larkin. Larkin would tell you that the dulcimer just called to her. She was a great musician. She was a great fiddler. She played guitar, mandolin, but the dulcimer was always special to her. And it is to me. I now play some other things, but the mountain dulcimer has always been the instrument where it all began and the instrument that I love the best. It's just been an amazing musical journey.
Wow, that's a heavy amount of information and connection. I'm just loving hearing all of this. It is kind of magical how we find the dulcimer, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I also play a little bit of hammer dulcimer. I played that heavily for a few years and then came back to the mountain dulcimer. My hammer dulcimer was built by Jim Hudson at that first festival where I couldn't play this dulcimer. I finished class early and went to find Janet, and Dana Hamilton and Jim Hudson were leading a class together in the basement. I now know that they had to put them in the basement to keep the whole place from rocking down. They had more energy than two people ought to have. They were just amazing. So I went upstairs to the vendor area afterwards, and I was looking at the dulcimers that Jim Hudson had. And he said, you need to take one of these. You need to do it. I said, no, I can't play the one I've got in my hand. I don't need this. And he said, oh, yeah. He came on, but he kept on talking. And so I said, I don't have any money. I said, I didn't want planning on buying anything. And he said, well, that's okay. I take credit cards. And I said, well, I don't even have a credit card. I've got my driver's license in my back pocket of my jeans. I don't even have any money or credit cards or anything. He said, you know what? You pick one out and you call me Monday morning with your credit card number. We'll just do it over the phone. So somebody I'd never seen before handed me a very expensive hammer dulcimer and let me walk away with it, never having seen me before in my life. And so that's still the dulcimer that I play. It's a 1514. I love it. I know now everybody plays a 17, 16. They were all big and they've got dampers and all this stuff, but I've never stopped loving that very first dulcimer that I got, hammer dulcimer.
One of the things I've been enjoying by doing the Dulcimoon Festival and talking to the different teachers is meeting people like Carmen Amrein from Germany. Mm-hmm. And she plays the smaller instruments that are more of the folk instrument in Germany and Austria. And she plays them beautifully. She plays gorgeous folk music from the area, Bavarian music, Austrian, Germanic, and it's just so beautiful on this simpler hammered dulcimer,
Right.
Yeah, so you don't need something big to make beautiful music.
Well,
But you do have,
my focus is always on the more traditional songs.
right.
So I don't really need a lot of out of the scale notes.
What do you have in your lap there?
Oh, well, I have a Janita Baker Blue Lion Dulcimer. I'm sure most people are familiar with her and her work. This one, it's super fancy. I don't play it real often, in part because it's too cluttered to use for teaching.
Yeah.
People but this fretboard design, I designed it and mailed it out to her, and she put it into action. It's all flowers that have some story from my childhood. And my website has a link to it to tell all the story behind all of the different flowers that are on the fretboard. So I love it. It's beautiful. I love playing it, but I don't play it very often because I love playing it, but visually it's not good for people to look at.
Yeah, I've got my workhorse too,
Yeah.
no 1+.
Right.
So I still have students who are confused that there's a 6+.
So in California, is there a lot of people playing without the 6.5?
What happens is in California, we're pretty much a dulcimer desert, except for finding the occasional used one at a luthier shop or something. Janita, of course, is in California, but that might as well be another state. And I think of Southern California and Northern California is actually
Sure.
He's in Southern California. And we have one luthier up here, but he does them one at a time. As a matter of fact, that's Howard Rugg.
Oh, sure. I have one of Howard's, one of his early ones.
Right,
Sure.
Rugg and Jackal, and
I do.
Folk Roots, and that company and those templates got sold on to become Folk Craft.
Right.
But yeah, we don't have a lot of dulcimers here, and so what people often find are something that in an attic or a closet.
Right.
Nobody knows what it is.
It's the same thing here.
They ended up with it, and it doesn't have a 6+, and often it's what I call a DSO, a dulcimer shaped object.
Okay.
Not playable often.
Right.
So I always work with them on that, and if they are playable, I just make sure that my beginning class doesn't have any repertoire with the 6+, which is not hard.
Right.
It's not hard, but yeah, it's difficult to find them, and at this point now everybody can order things online if they have
Sure.
The budget for it. And I've begun to learn who the high-end folks are and who the lower-end folks are, and how to take that lower-end custom instrument to my local luthier to make sure it's actually much more playable. But it's still a beautiful instrument, sounds good,
Sure.
It takes more than one person to make it happen.
I get
It
it.
just does. It just does.
So, well, also, I didn't want to miss out telling my biggest influences because
Yes.
they are all women
Yeah. Okay.
for the Dulcimoon experience.
Yeah.
So Larkin, of course, my
Yeah.
first instructor and best friend for years. Janita Baker and Jean Ritchie. Jean Ritchie was one of my first teachers, and she when I started, I was in my 20s, and you probably know from your events that you go to, most people are older than that at these festivals. So Jean had this really sense of we have to keep young people in playing in order for it to continue and to carry on. And so she was big into that. So she came to Memphis, and was doing a workshop on party games. Wasn't even a dulcimer workshop. And so I was there, and DJ mentioned that I was early this morning. Always early, always front row. So I was early, front row for the class. And Jean was wearing this big billowy skirt like she wore so many times. And she started the class and she said, come here, come here. And she had me come up and literally sit in the folds of her skirt while she taught this class on games. And she would pat me and interact with me while this class was going on. And after class, she said, I need for you to play the dulcimer and to keep up the tradition of the mountain dulcimer. And I promised her that I would. And so, people come in like, do you play rock and roll? No. Do you play this? Do you play that? Do you play classical? You play beautiful music, DJ, beautiful classical music? No. I play traditional music, the music that I heard in the mountains, the music that Jean Ritchie wanted me to continue with. I promised her I would do it. And that's where we stop. If you want those other things, there are other people out there that can teach it. But tradition is what's going to come from my end. So, and then also Betty Smith from North Carolina. She was an amazing person too, an amazing player, and so much knowledge of history and the Appalachian Mountains.
I think I've seen some pictures of her in Dulcimer Players News.
I'm sure you have.
The first year that Fiona Potts took over the Dulcimer Players News, she concentrated on 1/4 of the 50-year history. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that I saw some photos of Betty Smith in there.
She had a beautiful voice, as did Jean Larkin. I actually don't know that I've ever heard Janita sing. Maybe she has. Can't say right off the bat, but different styles. Janita's style is very different, but a lot of it is just the spiritual side of the music, the inclusion side of the music. I find a lot of times when people are coming to the dulcimer and music in general, they haven't had music that they've played before. They liked it, but they didn't play anything, and they're looking for something. There's some space in their life that they need something, and sometimes it's that they really want to play music. Sometimes it's that they need to get out and be with other people, so it's a great social element. In my classes that I do for senior citizen centers, people can, if there's something that they find difficult, maybe, for whatever reason they're having a difficult time. A lot of times there's arthritis involved and those kind of things. So I always try to meet students where they are. And so in those settings, I always bring egg shakers and tambourines and bells and things like that. If they get to a place where they're tired or the fingering for whatever reason isn't working that day, then they can do something else in my class. I don't go, wow, this is a dulcimer class. You don't get to shake any eggs today. Whatever will get them still involved in the class, and maybe the next class that they come to, their hands will feel better. But everybody needs to be included. And I think music is one of the greatest ways that we have to level that playing field. Because I play with people all the time, and I'm shocked to find out, oh, the guy that's a banjo player, he's a surgeon. Really? Oh. The guy that plays mandolin, he's a bus driver. Whatever. Everybody's in that circle, and if you're in that circle, you belong. It doesn't matter what level player you are, doesn't matter what your job is. When you're in that circle, everybody's equal.
Well, Lee, before we let you go this morning, I would love for you to play a tune for us on that beautiful instrument of yours.
Okay, so I'm going to play the first finger picking tune. that Larkin taught me to play.
Okay.
That's actually kind of a lie, because the first finger picking tune she taught me was Go Tell Aunt Rhody. So I'm going to actually the second.
Are
And
you
this
on
is
a chair that can scoot back a little bit so we can see your hands? Perfect. Excellent. That's
okay.
right.
So this is Margaret's Waltz.
Thank you so much, Lee. I really appreciate this. Now, you mentioned you're going to be doing something for McSpadden this summer.
In July, McSpadden sponsors the Ozark Roots Festival in Mountain View. It's 3 days, 9 workshops, and I'll be there doing those workshops. And to register, you just call McSpadden Shop and tell them you want to come.
Well, I know meeting both Dwayne and Cindy Porterfield was part of my joy at the Ozark Folk Center for the Dulcimer Jamboree, as well as you and Alice backstage. And it was just, it was really heartwarming. The whole festival was, and meeting you was a special joy. My new BFF.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, Erin, for setting all this up and for doing this. This is a great resource for people. It's wonderful that y'all do it.
Thank you. Well, we will be talking soon again, I'm sure. And folks, make sure to let your friends know that if you watch this live, they can catch the replay at the exact same link on YouTube on the Dulcimoon channel. And that'll be it for today. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fabulous!